This is fucking weird, man. I live in London and I'm not used to all this positivity in one room, man. You lot are very friendly, man. You lot are friendly. You know, actually, I live in Hackney, East London. You guys heard of Hackney? Yeah, I live there. I'm not from there, but I live there now. And, you know, people in Hackney, they like to get sort of quite gassed about the situation. You know, the street, like, yeah, we're from Hackney. I'm not scared of anything. So, you know, I've been living in Hackney for a while now. So, you know, I kind of adopted that mentality that I wasn't scared of anything. And then I went to Toxteth and became a pussy again. I got emasculated, man. Fuck all that. But I'll tell you a bit about myself. I'm half Sudanese. And Sudan is on the list of terrorist countries that Donald Trump wrote up last year, right? Which means I legally can no longer go to the United States, right? But the joke's on President Trump, I couldn't go there anyway, because I've had a criminal record a long time before he banned me. Come on. But yeah, I'll tell you a bit more about myself. I actually grew up an orphan. Sometimes I tell people that, they sympathize with me. You guys may even be sympathizing with me right now. Well, you shouldn't. I'm far from a decent human being. I sometimes steal my housemates' food and then call them racist when they accuse me of doing so. Which they are, because them niggas never have evidence. Well, like I say, I was an orphan. My dad died when I was like a teenager, so my uncle, he's kind of like a father figure to me. And, you know, he's quite interested in the stand-up I do, but he doesn't really know what it is, because he's like 80, 90. We don't really know how old he is. He's just bare old. And, and you know, obviously he comes from Sudan, and they don't have stand-up over there. So he tried to ask me about what it was. So he was like, what's this stand-up stuff you do? I was like, basically, it's this craft. You come up with your own ideas, and you try and go on the stage and then entertain people. He was like, oh, okay, I know what you mean. He was like, really? He was like, yeah, you're a clown. I was like... Not really, man. It's a very difficult craft. We put a lot of time and effort into it. Some would even say it's quite intellectual. I wouldn't call myself a clown. He was like, oh, okay, I know what you are. I was like, really, you do? He's like, yeah, you're a clown who's also quite arrogant. But yeah, you know, like I say, you know, my dad died when I was quite young. I got quite depressed about it. So I started smoking a lot of hash. And, you know, me smoking this hash was a bit of a strange ordeal, how I used to pick it up, right? Because I used to pick it up off this very religious Muslim guy, yeah, who was also this East London Cockney geezer, yeah? Which is a bit of a weird combo, man. Because I ring him up and be like, yo, bro, can I grab a 20? And he'd be like, Salam alaikum, geezer, you all right, yeah? I'd be like, mate, what the fuck's the matter with you, man? Nobody speaks like that. Like, and he'd get pissed off as well. He'd be like, mate, I ain't got time for this. I got to go to the mosque with Muslim brothers and have a pint with the lads. What the fuck do you want? He was a fucking nutter, man. I had to cut him off in the end. Not because of that. Obviously, you know, that's his faith and his profession and his geezer life. It's weird, but, you know, as close-minded to me, innit? You can do whatever you want. But I had to cut him off, yeah, because it turns out he's also a giant Liverpool fan, yeah, which is also cool. Wait, hear me out. That's also cool, yeah, but you can't be a giant football fan and a drug dealer and a Muslim and a geezer. It's too much for me, man. It was fucking unnerving, man. I thought this guy, he's just mental, man. I don't like people like that. But, you know, my life's changed a lot now. I go uni now. And, you know, I like uni. I've been fortunate to meet people from all over the world. By that, I mean a few suburbs outside of London and Beijing. It is cool, though. It is cool. You know, like, especially like my first year uni, right? Because I lived with 5 Chinese students in it, yeah? And, you know, that was jokes, right? Because... You know, it was like real life rush hour. But, no, it was cool. They were actually all right. You know, there's this stereotype, yeah, that like Chinese people only like to speak to each other and they don't really like mix with like other ethnicities, yeah. I found out, you know, I was talking to one of the Chinese guys I lived with, yeah, and he was like, you know, I asked him, I was like, how do you feel about that, like, perception of your people? He was like, man, it's not fair, man. You know, we don't actually think that. It's just some of these dudes don't actually speak English. And I was like, well, it's harsh. They were, anyway. But, yeah, back to the Chinese people. But, like I say, you know, I lived with 5 Chinese students in it. And there's nothing weird about living with 5 Chinese students. But what was weird about living with 5 Chinese students is that one of these Chinese students I lived with, he was head of the Chinese society, innit? Now, there's nothing weird about living with the head of the Chinese society. But what was weird about living with the head of the Chinese society is at times there'll be like 60 Chinese people in the flat at one time. Now, there's nothing weird about 60 Chinese people in the flat at one time. But what was weird about 60 Chinese people in the flat at one time is that they would sometimes have these huge dinners in the kitchen. Now, there's nothing weird about 60 Chinese people having huge dinners in the kitchen. But what was weird about that is one of these Chinese guys would take a photo of me eating dinner at the front which looks like a bit of a strange fucking picture, mate. And one of these Chinese guys, right, he thinks he's got banner in it. So he put the photo on Instagram, yeah, and all his friends back in Beijing, they were like, yo, who's your friend, man? Who's your friend? Because they've never seen anyone that looks like me. It's like, who's your mate, man? And he's like, bruv, you don't know this guy, man? MC Mamoun, man. Big grime rapper from England, man. Obviously ridiculous. But no, you know, it's all right for me on the whole, you know, because I'm quite a quiet person off stage. I'm quite reserved. And I never knew how beneficial that would be for me, being a quiet black male. Because my quiet white male counterparts, they get the opposite treatment. You know, people judge them. People attack them. People don't let them be quiet in peace. People go, fucking hell, look at Tim in the corner. Unnerving everyone at the whole gathering. No wonder you've got no friends, Tim, you awkward weirdo. When it comes to a man like me, they go, oh, wow, look at Mamoun sat there in the corner, emitting such a mysterious inner city vibe. Well, that's my set done. Have a wonderful evening, man. Thank you.